Hey, what's up? Welcome to DGenEd. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts. And so here I'm recording this on Tuesday, February 11th, after the market has closed. And here we're looking at Tesla, which closed the day at a price of $328.50, being down over 6% on the day and continuing lower in the after hours. And so I wasn't planning on doing a video on Tesla tonight, but we kind of got a tease that Colin Gladman might be putting out a video. And I don't know if somebody on X upset him, pissed him off. Sometimes people can be dicks. And since I was looking forward to seeing what he had to say about Tesla, and he's not putting that out, I thought I'd go over my thoughts, which might be a little bit bearish, and also, definitely don't have the experience that he has. I'm just doing this for fun, like I said. And so let's get into it. And so looking at the chart here, what I have up here are just some moving averages, the 21 and 50-day moving average up here, and then down here do have the 200-day moving average, which is at a price of $269. So that's a fun price there. And, I wasn't really considering that too much, but I just removed my drawings to start out this video clean. And I actually think that price could be coming down to around $270. So I find it interesting that the 200-day moving average is down there. But then if I do throw up my drawings here, it's going to be a little bit cluttered, and I'll clean it up and kind of just explain my thought process here. So this red line, I can delete that because we are below it. There was also this gap over here at around 369.49. We are below that as well, so I'm going to remove that line. And then, got a couple lines over here, and this is where I was starting to think that it was possible Tesla could be finding a bottom around 360. And so the reason for that is because we did have these tops over here. However, something that Colin had talked about in some of his previous Tesla videos is that really breaking below 370, getting below the lows over here, that would be putting in a lower low, and it would just look like it's breaking down. So coming down to 360 was actually a bearish tell that he had talked about. And for me personally, I am not a big time player. I was looking forward to adding a little bit to my position below 360, and I did do that yesterday on Monday. Could have waited to do that today or maybe in the future. But like I said, I'm a small time player, a little fish, and so no big deal. I do have a pretty low average, so there's no problem there. But, I'm just thinking about the next levels to the downside that we might be coming to. And so since we have broken below 355, I'm just going to delete that white line there, and then taking a step back, looking at this Fibonacci retracement, I am going to remove the 382, and these levels are going to be just about approximate based on the low over here from, I believe that was the end of April when we came down to below $140 a share, and then the top over here right around 488. So that's how I get that retracement, and I am just going to remove that 382 since we are now trading below it. And also I am going to remove this doodle of the arrow. I was kind of hoping that we'd be bouncing around 360, but I was also prepared for the possibility of this continuing lower. And so what are some levels that I think Tesla could be finding some support at? Really, just based on this Fibonacci retracement, I do see the 50% retracement here right around 314. And so, it's quite possible we could be testing that as support and bouncing. But I don't really see too much in the past, or at least in the recent past, that would suggest that that could be indeed acting as support. We do have some highs over here that do correspond with that. And these are the highs from, looks like, August through September of 2022. We did top out, basically forming a triple top there around 314. So yeah, there is a possibility that could be acting as some support. So I'm just going to draw a line there so I do know that there are some other levels that might be acting as support. The tops over here, this prior resistance, may become support on our way down. But the level that really stands out to me is actually, right around 269. Just kind of having fun with that number, but coincidentally, that happens to be the 200-day moving average. So I find that fun. Also, it's at 269.67, so it's right around 269.69, so especially fun there. But anyways, the reason why I see basically the range from around 300 down to around 270 acting as support, partly because of that 200-day moving average, but also because we do have some tops over here. It looks like it goes back to June of 2023. And so, that could be acting as support. The resistance that we saw over there might be flipped to support. Also, just going a little bit lower than that, do have some more peaks here. So just kind of going at this range, coming down to around 267 or 268 is where that purple line is at. And so, yeah, I just think that there are a lot of levels there. And then if I do look at this Fibonacci retracement, the 618 looks like it's at $272.41. That is the 618. And so I think that there's just a lot of levels right around the 270 to 300 range. And the thing that really stands out to me that has been an excellent dip buying level for me. And, like I said, I'm a small time player, so I try to be very careful when adding to my position. But, I had initially gotten a position on, the end of April. We dipped below this level here. I do have this blue line going across at around 144.43. We do take a step back in time. That corresponds with this gap from over here. Earnings at the beginning of the year in 2023 formed a gap going to the upside. And so I was kind of hoping that that line might get, or that gap might get filled. And you also see this white uptrend over here. I might actually have to switch to the weekly to show that. Yeah, so let's look over at that. This was a pretty historic uptrend going back to the lows from March of 2020, so the pandemic lows, and then also when we bounced over here, the beginning of the year 2023. That's how I get that white uptrend, and that happened to correspond with the lows that we saw at the end of April. And so I picked up a couple shares there. Again, small time player, but I wasn't too convicted in my dip buy, and I got a little bit antsy. I sold here, and then as price went up, I was just thinking, man, I regret that. And what we saw following that on August 5th, I believe that's right here. This is August 9th on the weekly. So if I do switch this over to the daily, oops, I don't want to move that Fibonacci retracement. If we do look over here, that's August 5th, markets gap down, craziness on the day. And I'm not exactly sure what the level was for that, but I did have it highlighted. Maybe it was a gap fill or something over here. I forget, I'm sorry. But I established a very small position there. And now we have this uptrend going from, the low of April 22nd to that pivot point of August 5th. And then over here, very interesting, we saw this gap down. And then by the time we had moved over to that line on earnings on October 23rd, we got a gap up. And so that line was again another great dip buying level before we formed this island gap down. We gapped up and have left that behind. And so that's another reason why I think we could be coming down to 300. Maybe we don't get to it, or down to 270, or 269, have fun with it, because we have all of these levels, also the 618, this uptrend, and the 200-day moving average. So I would not be surprised if Tesla did come down to 270. I would also not be surprised if it didn't make it all the way down, only came down to around 300. And yeah, so I think that we could be seeing 300 down to 270, and I think that would be another excellent dip buying opportunity before we maybe saw a bounce like this and a move to new all-time highs. But I could also see us finding a bottom around 314 before, let's see, maybe doing something like this and then coming down to that level before going up to make new all-time highs. So yeah, I just think that there is a lot of great potential for this, and I think that what we're seeing right now are some great dip buying opportunities. But again, 314, it might be a short-term bounce if we do bounce from there. I think that ultimately, just because there are so many levels here and that 200-day moving average, I think that might act as a magnet, and that we will be coming back to this uptrend to test it again before going higher. But also, just because we've tested this line a few times in the past doesn't mean we're going to be testing it again. So with price having been up nearly at $500 a share, being down at 328, this is a great dip buying opportunity from where I think Tesla will be in the future. So don't let it slip past you, but also do be prepared for the possibility of coming down to 300 or 269. But as always, those are just my thoughts. If you found them helpful, make sure you like the video, share your thoughts in the comments down below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and take care.